Welcome to WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. Dominico, great to see you. My name's Jake, and I also am reporting to you from the US. And as was not the initial intention of this channel, yet I do all the time, we have basically all US news. Although I suppose it's some coming from Davos, but it's, we're the problem for the world right now. Sorry. Genuinely. I wish we weren't some degree of villain in all your lives, but here we are. Dominico, how you doing, man? Good to see. I should put these on stage, huh? So here's the deal. Tomorrow there's a major event happening, and I'm going to ask something pretty weird of some of our vertical viewers. Um, and I will do so with the understanding that it's not actually going to make a difference. Like, this is something we can only do because we are a small channel, because there is 22 people watching right now, and I'm excited about that. That's a lot at one time for me. So because of that, you as a vertical viewer, odds are you don't agree with me politically if the YouTube readout is correct. And yet you have an opportunity to understand the people you disagree with on a level that perhaps you never have before. So I'm just going to say it outright, and then I'll explain my reasoning a little bit more, as well as apologize to my audience for something I said yesterday. Here's what you can do if you're a vertical viewer. Take tomorrow off of work. Just see if you can. The rest of us, I'm asking to take tomorrow off of work for a political reason. We want to pressure our workplaces all around the country to basically suffer. We want to pressure them and put that pressure on them so that they feel the suffering of people of Minnesota. In other words, we're not going to make money for the oligarchs that are funding the assault of human beings within the U.S.'s borders. But that's not why I want my vertical viewers to try to take the day off. I want my vertical viewers to try to take the day off tomorrow. You can, in fact, even have an ice in Minnesota. We're going to have an ice out of Minnesota day. You can try to have an ice in Minnesota day where you just take the day off and sit home thinking about how glad you are that, I don't know, a 5-year-old got kidnapped yesterday or whatever it is. But do that to see if you can. To see if you are able to take one day off of work as you see fit. If you find that you cannot, if you find you can't just take a day to smell the roses, as it were, ask yourself, are you really free? When you were in school and you imagined what it would be like to be an adult, did you ever imagine yourself begging another adult for permission to do as you please? Did you imagine yourself so financially strapped that taking one day off of work might ruin you. If you find that you cannot take one day off of work on a whim, then you ought to question whether your life is what you thought it was. Are you really free? We're supposed to be the richest country in the world, and if you're incapable of taking one day off of work, that should reveal to you that we are measuring wealth by standards that do not apply to you. We're measuring freedom by standards that do not apply to you. And whoever's measuring it, whoever convinced you that you are in a wealthy and free country, even though you cannot take a single day off of work, they're lying to you. So let me address my horizontal viewers for a moment. Yesterday, I got all passionate. Oh, I got on a soapbox and I was so full of myself. This will be useful for the vertical viewers too. You can see how I'm wrong sometimes. And again, I would ask you, when's the last time you heard one of your regulars acknowledge that they were wrong fully and without reservation? I was wrong yesterday. I said that if you don't take tomorrow off of work, that you're not really about the cause. You don't really care about ICE abusing people, clobbering them and such, kidnapping kids, molesting people that they have kidnapped, probably including the kids, if it's anything like the detention centers. When Trump put kids in cages the first time around, I said all those things. And at the time, I meant them. Ooh, I felt it. And then after we got off air, I thought about it for, a full 15 seconds before I realized how fucking stupid that is. The people who most want there to be a general strike, like throughout the country, are the poorest. Ironically, we're the most or the least able to make it happen. If you are poor and you take off to and taking off tomorrow is going to lose you your job or ensure that you cannot pay your rent because you are one day's labor short of paying your rent and things are that close for you. It does not help the cause more to have you be homeless or unemployed. It hurts us to have you in that state. We need you generating resources, if only for yourself, because we need you around. So no, I retract what I said. If you genuinely cannot take tomorrow off, I understand. However, don't let tomorrow pass without contributing in some way. We're going to have the Wicked Cookout tomorrow. Everybody's invited, whether you agree with us or not, although I suspect the only people that are going to stick around will agree with us. I've got some fun things planned, some fun non-political things. Would you believe it? I want to watch, as our old pal Riverboat Jack did yesterday. I want to watch a far right sketch comedy group. I want to watch something called Holy Mackerel with You. I've talked about it here before. Haven't showed it to you. I love their comedy show. I love the little videos they put out. By the way, we're only able to watch those videos because a far left streamer by the name of Demon Mama correctly predicted that the church was going to collapse due to a scandal and backed up all of their video files personally at her own expense. And if this is surprising to somebody who is of the right leaning persuasion, that a left leaning person would do this as an act of love to people who they disagree with utterly, I would argue that you don't know who we are. And if you've been making decisions based on assumptions about who we are, particularly assumptions about what our intentions are for you, maybe somebody who asked you to make those decisions based on those assumptions was intentionally lying to you. Tree Rogie. I would pitch to you that you need higher expectations. You need higher standards for yourself. Tree Rogie says Trump number one over and over and over. And boy, that's, I mean, even if that's true, if Trump is the best you can do as far as making your life better, my God, that's a sad state of affairs. Now, I'll acknowledge progressives can't say much better. We've never even had somebody in office that believes what we believe. We haven't even been able to get that far. And on top of that, the people we have helped to get in office, the Joe Bidens of the world, they've, done the opposite of what we've asked them to do over and over. Greatest of all time? Really? You're gonna now that I feel like you must know is simply ludicrous. I mean, come on. He's lost America money every time he's been in office. The GDP goes spiraling out of control. The GDP is something you pay, by the way. He's eroded civil rights, but Obama eroded civil rights too. But I mean, go back further. Franklin D. Roosevelt, that's the guy that got Social Security put in place for us. That would be a GOAT, maybe. Lyndon Johnson, Civil Rights Act, although he got us into Vietnam, so maybe take that one with a grain of salt. Abe Lincoln, come on, freed the slaves. Way the better. George Washington established that the president is not a king. No, I think you can do better than that. Here's just what I'm going to put towards you. Trump has the ability to delay reports that come out. He does not have the ability to generate profit where none existed. All of America's growth has been in industries that are going nowhere, in industries that have enriched foreign billionaires. Let me say that again. All of America's gross domestic product growth is enriching foreign billionaires. This is the AI companies. They're the ones that are succeeding, and it's mostly because they are getting handouts from the government. So, come back to me in about 2 months, and let's see if you still believe what you believe about Trump's ability to handle finances. This is true. Now, I'll give you that. You do have a good sense of character. I'm not terribly bright. And I thank you for warning the audience. Although I would say you only need to do one message at a time. The multiple messages are not necessary. But that's accurate. Yes, I am dumb. Sasha Riley interview. I don't know what that is. This is true. He is an admitted pedophile. He did go to like a 10-year-old girl and point at her and say he'd be dating her in a decade. That was pretty gross. Also, he talked about how he liked to walk in on his, beauty pageant contestants. I bet you love men in women's sports. That's an odd place to go with this. I don't know why you would think that, other than you've been told that there is some problem with men joining women's sports, when in reality, the amount of even women who've got schwanzes are an infinitely small number of the population. I will say this, though. I do love women in men's sports. I'm a sucker for that. I reported on a woman. She wasn't a woman, obviously. It was a girl. I used to be a high school sports reporter, which would shock you if you know how little I know about sports. But it was the job that was open. And I do know a lot about wrestling. And so I obviously heavily favored reporting about wrestling. And there was a gal in Michigan who was wrestling She was not a senior, but she was wrestling in varsity men's wrestling. She was 16 years old and whooped ass. She was competitive. I didn't, yeah, I had to move on to other things. I couldn't dedicate my whole job to tracking this gal's career. But to this day, I wonder, is she out there? Is she in the Olympics yet? Is she winning gold for us? So you're not totally off. I do like a story with a twist for sure. J Mac Drum says, "You smoke cigarettes." Uh, I used to roll. I smoked Luckies for a while. I used to roll my own. I do vape still, but that doesn't. It's probably as unhealthy as smoking, but it doesn't feel as genuine. Yes, thank you, Tree Rogi. Yeah, Denny Hastert. Good God. Uh, we have so many gross fucking politicians. We have been misrepresented my entire life. There's so many people that say they're about what we're about, but when it comes time to release the files or when it comes time to investigate your own side or whatever, suddenly these people don't agree with us at all. You've been very generous by offering up Dennis Hastert to talk about. I'll just go ahead and say Joe Biden had an opportunity to release or to at least order Merrick Garland to reopen the investigation into the Epstein files, and he didn't. No reason not to. Just no reason at all not to do that, unless you know that there's a bunch of powerful people that you're friends with who are on that list, and you care more about them than you do about kitty diddlers. So basically, what I'm saying is no matter how up or down you feel you are in this country right now, we're still locked into the same nonsense. And we got to replace basically everybody. And this is the year to do it. I'm not even suggesting you vote for my folks necessarily. I've got all kinds of pitches about people I think will be great, but I don't know. The only thing I'm suggesting you do is within your own party, replace in the primaries a bunch of these motherfuckers that voted against releasing the Epstein files because they're not doing anything for you. And even if they are, it's whatever they think they can get away with. So scare them. Replace a bunch of them and say, "No, Kitty Diddler, you're out of here." And I will fucking do that for. I'm going to try to get rid of Hakeem Jeffries. He's the current minority leader of the House. I'm going to try to get rid of Chuck Schumer. He's the current leader of the Democrats in the Senate. I promise you, I will be putting my full back into ending these motherfuckers' political careers. I'm going to be trying to get rid of basically, if you've heard of them as a Democrat, I am out to ruin their career this year. And all I'm asking is because I can't identify who's on the level and who's not on your side, you do it and get rid of yours. And it's better while you're in power, by the way. It is better to do that while you're in power because you're risking less. Because you have people who can already put laws on the table. They can say, "Oh, it looks like I've got a strong primary challenger. I better do something right now because I'm in office right now that shows I'm above all these criticisms that I'm getting." And then you win. Then you win. But it's you and me versus them. And they would have us believe that it's you and me versus each other. And you know what? I don't think you're a kitty diddler. And I think they are kitty diddler protectors. So it's not you and me versus each other. It's you and me versus them. And mazel tov if your party wins, but make sure the right people are representing your party. Yeah, I think Trump's a diddler. I'm sorry. I think he actually molested kids. I think Biden's a diddler protector. I don't know how much better that is. I mean, they both deserve the worst. I mean, they're both going to burn in hell, in my opinion. Oh, Rick Ernst, I'm sorry. Pinkerbell, hello. The transitive property of chat moderation. It's gonna be a weird one. Next couple of days are gonna be really, really weird. Rickard, I'm sorry. Sasha Riley is a Trump victim and talks about all that shit. Oh no. I will look that up. Uh, Here's my main concern with Trump. It's not even the individual victims, though. And I don't want to. I'm not trying to be a dick to the victim. I get it that they had a horrific experience. They're accusing a specific person of doing it. I do want to hear that out. I'm just talking about from a country being run point of view. Uh, Epstein recruited out of Mar-a-Lago. You know, Epstein worked out of there. He ran his operation out of there. Uh, to me, that's again, it's like the difference between being a pedophile and a pedophile protector. Do you go a further step and being like, all right, pedophile protector, pedophile, uh, kid capturer? I don't know, man. We just got to be doing better than this. We got to do better. You can do better than Trump. I don't know why. I think it's a con that they have convinced 70 million Americans that the best way to achieve the things they want is to give Donald fucking creep on children Trump more power. But he's just running from my perspective, he's no different than Obama. When he's on the campaign trail, he says all the things you want to hear. Sure. He tells you he's going to build a wall and get Mexico to pay for it. Let me just look for that wall. It's fucking nowhere. It's gone. He tells you he's going to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, aka Obamacare. He tells you he's going to end the war in Ukraine in one day, or was that Israel that he said he would end in one day? He tells you he's going to be the no new wars president, and then invades Venezuela and invades Greenland. And look, I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to harp on just Trump. I'm telling you this because we had the same thing with Obama, and we know already what this feels like. He always says, I need one more year. It's going to happen in 2 weeks. It's going to be sometime other than just right now. It's not going to be today. I need one more term. Oh, I need a third term. Oh, I need a fourth term. I need 7 more. I need to be president for life, and I need to have my life artificially extended with the greatest technology that's ever been assembled. I need to become a leech and live for 1,000 years. And then your great, 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 great grandchildren will get the thing that I promised you back in 2016. I'm not just dunking on Trump. This is exactly what Obama did. He vaguely promised America change. And by the way, Ashley Babbitt voted for Obama and then died for Trump. She was sold the same lies by multiple people. Obama promised change, but he didn't change anything. He kept doing tax breaks for the ultra wealthy. He kept increasing the powers of the government in terms of their ability to bully average citizens. He killed a U.S. citizen with a drone strike and no judicial approval whatsoever. He just decided on his own through the executive branch that he was going to kill a U.S. citizen. And nobody did shit. Even Trump didn't do anything. Trump pretended to hate that guy. And he could have said, hey, wait a minute. Wait a minute. He murdered a U.S. citizen. Why didn't Trump say anything? Because he didn't want to give up that power. He didn't want the courts to say, yeah, that was illegal, because he wants that power. This is the same scam over and over and over until we're dead. Fuck these people. They're not our friends. I don't know where you're getting that number. To my knowledge, it is not so, Bud Russell. Bud Russell says Obama nearly doubled the national debt. I don't believe that's true. But I hate Obama for so many reasons. I don't need to make any up. If you want reasons that I can verify here and now, if you like, to hate Obama, I'm happy to list them out to you. But off the top of my head, his failure to prosecute George W. Bush for the illegal invasion of Iraq, which was based upon a lie that we knew to be a lie. His failure to do that set the stage for a U.S. corruption. His killing of a U.S. citizen. Barack Obama killed a U.S. citizen. No trial, no nothing, just straight up murked the dude. That's worthy of an actual like an actual criminal trial, I feel. And his half-assed Affordable Care Act. He should have done Medicare for all. Boom. Single-payer healthcare for the whole country. Try it and have it work or fail. But answer that question once and for all in the United States, because the rest of the world has moved on to doing single-payer healthcare because that's what seems to work for everybody else. Right off the dome, you can name those three things that Obama effed up. And that'll make a libertarian happy. That'll make a progressive, unhappy, but they'll acknowledge that you're correct. Those things are quite real. Natchikit, great to see you, my friend. Double standard Democrats, please do. I'm not joking. Tree Rogie, you say double standard Democrats. What do you mean by that? His name is Barry, and he chose Barack, and his middle name is Hussein. LOL. Well, Barry's short for Barack. His name was always Barack Hussein Obama, and he didn't choose that. He did choose Barry as the nickname for his friends, but I mean, he introduced himself formally by his full name, as one ought to, because it's not a clown show. Barack Hussein Obama. Yeah, that's his name. A man can't choose the names his parents give him at birth. All right, I'll Google it. Bud Russell. Let me Google this. Did Obama double? You said nearly double the national debt. Bear in mind, I am looking for reasons to hate Obama. The total debt increase, this is an AI summary. Wait a minute. AI summary from Committee for Response. Okay. We're gonna go to actual websites here. It's looking good so far. Total debt increase. Here we go. The gross national debt increased by roughly 9.5 trillion to 10 trillion over his 8 years in office. I am going to be so happy if you provided me with a new thing to bitch at Obama about. Percentage increase. This represented a rise of approximately 90% in total debt. That's just about double, up to 95%. That's just about doubling. Debt held by the public. When focusing on debt held by the public, which excludes money that the government owes itself, the figure more than doubled, increasing from 6.3 trillion to 14.4 trillion. We're doing a handshake, sir. Context of the increase. While the debt did nearly double, analysts point to several factors beyond a single president's control, including the 2008 financial crisis boom. Oh, this makes sense. The resulting Great Recession, which lowered tax revenue, and significant stimulus spending. Okay. Perfect. Bud Russell, if I ever get the opportunity to purchase you a beer, I will do so. Because yes, Obama did indeed nearly double the national debt. I did not realize it was that much. The reason, wouldn't you know it, the same thing we hate Biden for, the same thing I hate Trump for, and I'm begging you to start hating him for the same reasons. Bailouts to banks. When there were people that were making irresponsible bets in the stock market, if you remember the 2008 financial crash with the tranches of subprime loans. Those would be when people bet on the real estate market and then bet on the bets on real estate markets, et cetera, et cetera. We had to bail out those banks. Now, we could have instead given that money to the American people directly. All the banks bailing out we did, we could have just given that to people to pay off their mortgages. The US government could have bought all those mortgages and just given it to the people that took the loans. And the American people's wealth would have skyrocketed, actually, not gone down. What did we do instead? We gave it to the banks who kept their golden parachutes for their CEOs, who went right back to doing exactly what they were always doing. They saved the money, they sat on the money. Thank you for sticking with that, because you're right. Barack Obama did nearly double the national debt. He did it by being something called a neoliberal, which every US president in my lifetime has been. It is no way to run a country. It rewards bad business. It rewards in capitalism, you are supposed to be able to fail. And this idea of being too big to fail, popularized under Obama, as you can see, frickin' leech to our way of life. So let me recap now with this new information. Why I hate Obama. Number one, and I can't stress this enough, I really wish this was the first thing everybody mentioned, but he killed a guy. He, in my opinion, murdered a US citizen. Killed a US citizen. Without any trial. Killed him. Okay. Number two, he doubled the national debt. Specifically, he did so by bailing out giant banks who were irresponsible with our money, who gave us loans and then made bets on those loans and then made bets on the outcome of the bets. And of course, inevitably, it broke down. And then we bailed them out because Obama didn't say you deserve relief from their irresponsible behavior. They're going to get relief for their irresponsible behavior. And you're still out of a home. Obama did that. Then, of course, there was his failure with the ACA. He decided to do a half measure instead of the single-payer health care. That's what people actually wanted. And then I'll just say I'll do a new fourth because just generally, fuck him. He was smug about it. He promised us change. He did not offer us change. He instead decided to make it easier for the US government to invade your privacy. So thoroughly fuck Obama for 4 reasons now. And I thank you, Bud Russell, for helping me with that. Yeah, collateral murderer in chief. Until Donald Trump, Obama was the drone strike guy. He popularized it. It does. Lana Lawbridge says, Trump is a rapist. Why doesn't that bother you? It does. No, I don't think that, Chuck. Barack Obama is far from the worst president in the United States we ever had. Right before him was a guy that got us into 20 years of war. Admittedly, Obama didn't pull us out of that 20 years of war, but he at least got the guy that did the attack. Right before Obama was a famously incompetent president. Right after Obama was a president that has utterly destroyed the U.S.'s power around the world. As of the last month's worth of news stories, the U.S. has maybe half the power it used to. NATO no longer considers us a strong ally. Why would they? We threatened to attack them. One of the main issues one of the main strengths that we had as a country was the fact that other countries trade in our dollar. Our dollar was the currency of the world. That's not happening anymore. Other countries are now working with China and Russia to, our worst enemies, basically, whether you think they ought to be or not. But they are now working with our adversaries to use their currency instead. In Latin America, where Trump focused a lot of the U.S. military might for some reason, they are doing something called the BRICS It's Brazil. I don't even know all the countries, but it's a different currency that they're going to use, and they had been using the U.S. dollar. That's boring to talk about, I know, but that's where our power comes from. That's how you have the military the size that we did, but you don't actually have to fire any shots to collect power. So no, I mean Barack Obama, horrible. And I don't want you to hear me saying that he's not the worst and make that take away from your mind any of the criticisms I just said against him. All those criticisms are true. I'm just saying it's worse than you think. We have had such garbage representation because they try to get you and I to defend people we don't like. We have, I mean, and for that matter, you're talking about, imagine if you had like John Wayne Gacy and Ted Bundy and Ed Gein and like a bunch of other serial killers lined up, and you're sitting around trying to decide who's the worst. Now, I might argue John Wayne Gacy because he had the whole killer clown thing going on. You might argue Ed Gein because he made a lampshade out of somebody's skin, and I might say, well, technically, he didn't kill the person who he made the lampshade out of their skin with. He just dug up their body, and he killed another person. It's sort of a ridiculous thing to split hairs over. Who was the worst? I don't know. I kind of don't care. As long as we're in agreement that they are all fucking terrible. And clearly they're to be clear, they're not terrible for an unknown reason. They're not terrible for a bunch of different unrelated reasons. They're all terrible for the same reason. They lie to us to serve the oligarchs. And that's it. It's what they're all doing. And they say something, they sound on the campaign trail like they share your morals, but they do not. They don't share your morals. Yeah. GP says, I completely understand that he's a felon and will be impeached. I know that he's a pedophile protector and most likely a pedophile himself. Yeah. Hopefully we can get Biden too. At the very least, get him in an embarrassing interview or have somebody get him to acknowledge before he fucking dies from whatever it is that's eating his brain. I'm talking about Biden. From whatever it is that's eating his brain, that he knew the Epstein files were out there and there were unpunished people that diddled kids and were serving in government. I hate Bill Clinton with a passion that would be hard to fully communicate to you here and now. I hate him so much, but there is one thing he did recently that I appreciate, which is he gave the government his blessing to release any document that has his name on it in the Epstein files. I don't think that means he didn't diddle kids. I just think he's confident that the government doesn't have the documents that say he diddled kids. But I would like everybody to do that so we can focus on the people who damn it, Andrea, who say that they are focus on the people who don't release anything. Go Chuck Yourself says the fact that Barack Obama bailed out the banks, the insurance companies, yes, my man, and the automakers, and left the American taxpayers high and dry, didn't even get a return on our investment. That's why I think he's the worst president. That's a pretty damn good reason, I got to tell you. I really got to say. Like, part of the reason that we're here talking now the way we are is that QAnon, and I'm not saying you're like QAnon necessarily. That's just another group of folks that I wasn't aligned with, or so I thought once upon a time. But QAnon said to me and everybody else on the internet, hey, there's a group of diddlers in the U.S. government, and also a bunch of other conspiracy stuff. And also there's a secret cabal of this and that, and also cheese pizzas underneath the basement or in the basement of this pizza shop and all this other things. that made the whole thing seem silly. And they were right on the broad strokes, let me tell you. That I have to acknowledge that because I went hard against them, thinking these effing clowns are so easily fooled or so blah, 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 but they were right. They were correct. There are a bunch of diddlers in the US government. Joe Biden did cover for them, even through his inaction. Donald Trump appears to be covering for them. That's two presidents at least. As far as I know, maybe Obama covered for them. I don't know. But they definitely are there. So I got to listen to what y'all are saying, and it's bearing fruit. I can't tell you how much of my time I spend trying to get people that consider themselves leftists to stop being Obama fans. Because I think they're embarrassing themselves. I'm trying to be gracious here, but I think they're embarrassing themselves and me by association when they do that. They're just telling the world I wasn't paying attention at all to Barack Obama. And if us working together, I get it. You're probably not going to vote for the folks I would prefer you vote for. Nah, not even that. You're probably not going to vote for the folks that I want, and I'm not going to vote for the folks that you want specifically. But if we work together like this, you guys can keep giving me real talking points about why some of these centrist Democrat neoliberal motherfuckers are lying to us, baby. You're helping me. And what I pitch to you all is just start replacing as many people who even give you the slightest whiff that they might need replacing. You take their job. You want to be a representative? You get, what is it, 80,000 a year? Pretty good. If you make it 5 years, you get health insurance for life. It's, at least that's what I was told, what I recall. I would rather have somebody here who's having an attempt at an honest conversation about how to fix things than I would 99% of the people in office. I'm hoping to replace basically the entire Democratic Party this year. I want it to be a different organization because I think it's full of jackals. I think they're jackals that are less willing to hurt Americans than Republicans, but honestly, it's kind of splitting hairs. They're both willing to do a lot of harm to Americans. They're both willing to let us die rather than fund our health care like Canada or England or Norway or every other wealthy country does. They're all willing to let us spend every waking moment doing something we don't really want to do because otherwise we're going to starve to death. They're both willing to tear us away from our families rather than make it so that the minimum wage lets you work just 40 hours a week. And by the way, as productivity is shooting up, they're making sure that there's no consequence for giving our jobs to a robot. Fuck them all. Let this era die. Don't ever take the crumbs that one of these politicians gives you and let you give them license for those crumbs to just thieve from you constantly. Oh, it's good to see y'all. Now, this is true, Bud Russell. I have a theory about this. Biden was the head of the executive branch. He could have declassified and released them. Believe me, if he had anything on Trump, he would have used it. Now that's where we disagree. That is where we disagree. I think you think Biden cares a lot more about Trump than he did. Biden sure tried his best to sell America on the idea that he gave a shit. But here's the thing. Biden, when he was in office, did not have a bunch of pressure to release those files. And there was no act of Congress forcing him to release those files. I think if Biden had had the same act of Congress passed that Trump did, he would have released them. But let's not. That's just a matter of bravery, really. That's not a matter of his ethics. Let's not delay too long here. Biden knew. The specifics here don't really matter. Biden knew that there was diddlers in the U.S. government, and he knew that it would end their careers to have anything relating to the Epstein files released. He knew that Alexander Acosta gave Jeffrey Epstein a sweetheart deal. Alexander Acosta, let's see. What did he do under Trump? Alexander Acosta, who was my understanding is the lawyer in charge of making a deal for Epstein in Florida when Epstein was first caught. He told the victims, Epstein's victims, that they would be informed if any sort of deal was offered to Epstein, and that their abusers would not go free. Then he offered a deal to Epstein where Epstein got a very small amount of jail time, and he didn't have to turn over the names of the abusers, or rather, all the abusers were just let go. And Biden, then of course after that, Trump made him the labor secretary. Funny enough, Biden knew all that because we knew all that. That was publicly available information. Also, Jeffrey Epstein had just died in prison. He just hung himself after Bill Barr visited him in prison. Biden, I feel, and this is I'm being specific about this so you can understand the different flavors of scams that these parties are offering. You can understand how we're being tricked, so you can help educate us when you see it. Biden covered it up by simply being quiet. You see how insidious that is? He didn't have to do anything in particular. As you point out, there's things he could have done. He could have declassified them, sure. But he never said, "Oh, I'm going to cover up this thing," or, "Oh, we don't need to look at this thing." He just never talked about it. He appointed Merrick Garland, who was a do-nothing attorney general. No matter what you've heard, Merrick Garland is a servant of no change in America. He's a servant of stagnation. And then he just sat on his hands because that's all he had to do to cover for his pedophile friends. So yeah, he doesn't get credit for being on the side of the angels here. We've had now 2 administrations that had an opportunity to do something about the Epstein files, and both of them have bent over backwards not to. And it just tells you who they care about. Do they care about you? Nope. Because you care about the Epstein files getting released, and they're not getting released. Do they care about kids? Nope. Justice? Nope. They care about their power. That's all they are. I agree with Groove Dragon. Epstein was murdered in jail. In fact, that's the sort of thing you can be sued for. And when you're sued, you can do something called discovery. And during discovery, you can request documents and video footage, etc., that you normally couldn't do. So I'm going to go ahead and just state as a matter of record that I firmly believe that Jeffrey Epstein was murdered in jail on the orders of President Donald Trump. I think President Donald Trump had Jeffrey Epstein murdered in prison. I think that Joe Biden is also culpable because Joe Biden, knowing that that's what happened and with the ability to look into it, chose not to. And I would like to see them all go to trial for this. Oh, mm. I don't know what Arkansas is. Let me look that up. What is Arkansas? A portmanteau of Arkansas and homicide, referring to a baseless conspiracy theory alleging that Bill and Hillary Clinton orchestrated the murders of political opponents and others who knew damaging secrets, often making deaths look like accidents or suicides. Hey, look, let me pull that back up. I don't think you're correct. I do not think you're correct. I think, though, Tactical Troll, who says Epstein committed Arkancide, I think that you have good reason to think the things that you think. And I think that your reasoning is worthy of investigation. So even though I don't want to lie to you and tell you, ooh, I agree with you. I just don't think that's how the Clintons operate their crime family. But you're not unfounded in these suspicions. And when we're left with no actual investigation, all we have is educated guesses. And even though yours is different than mine, I can't say it's crazier. The solution is the same, though. We need to open up an investigation into the death of Jeffrey Epstein. We need a Department of Justice that has the heart, the will, the desire to find out what actually happened. We need to sue and put people in court over those missing minutes of the footage. Trump says they're not there. Ooh, we couldn't find them. If that's true, if what Trump says is true, we need to find out who deleted them. Because first they said it was 1 minute. That happens automatically every midnight when the cameras shift over. Then we found out more like 2 minutes, 30 seconds. And oh, by the way, it was removed with Adobe Premiere Pro. So whoever did that, I don't care if they were working for the Clintons or if they were working for Trump, that motherfucker needs to die in prison because he was covering up for child rapists and people who would murder to protect child rapists. Maybe you're right. Honestly, QAnon was right about their core belief. Not that Donald Trump gave a shit about it, but that there was elite pedophiles in the U.S. government. So maybe you're right about this. So long as we investigate, I don't care what the conclusion of the investigation is. Ooh, Pinkerbell says, I got stories I can share offline about Bill and Hillary in the Arkansas days. Girl, you know how to contact me. I want to hear it. Oh, you know what? Was I actually going to show you something? Maybe. I do want to reiterate. Oh, yeah, I want to show you this. While I'm pulling this up. Yeah. Blaspheme. Guys, I know I blaspheme a lot and then apologize for blaspheming. Uh, it's not like just a cute way I blaspheme and try to get away with it. I really am sorry. It really is something that's like sewed into my vocabulary. And honestly, it wasn't when I was a kid because I went to Catholic school when I was a kid and I stopped doing it. And then I don't know what happened. I just started like, I myself am an atheist, so I don't feel a personal connection to those words. But I'm not trying to just if you are sincerely religious and it hurts you to hear me talk like that, I am sorry and I am working on it and I will try to get better. All right. This we have an ongoing project here wherein I very much want to show you uh, the beliefs of progressives. Not so that you agree with them, because I don't think you will. I just don't think that's going to happen. But I do notice that when you disagree with us, it is often in response to something we are, gosh darn it. There we go. It's often in response to something we're not actually saying. It's often in response to something somebody else told you that we believe, and then we end up talking about nonsense. And I am trying to minimize the amount of times that you and I miscommunicate, because again, I think it's you and I versus the people in power. So if you get a hold of your team and I can get a hold of my team so that we're actually controlling our teams as opposed to just being their pawns, I think America is going to do a lot better. So here's something, just a great one sentence point made by Sam Seder. This, if you can tell from the background, this is who we agree with. If you want to know what progressives believe, listen to what Sam Seder has to say. And even if you're just using it so you can prepare to debate us or prepare to point out the flaws in our reasoning, fine, do it. But understand where we're coming from. And also, by the way, if you have recommendations for what you actually believe, and you're the right-wing folks I'm talking about, well, anybody actually, but if you have recommendations for what you actually believe, let me know. I would like to look at some clips. Donald James X. Anyway, here's a great point from Sam Seder.
What percent? I would imagine there is a massive percentage of Americans who would say, like, $100,000 per person. Why wouldn't you do this? And
sorry, for context, he's talking about the offer Trump made to folks in Greenland, where he said, I will give you $100,000 per person. And he said, well, if you do the math on that, when you include the cost of healthcare, $2,000 a month, if you include, for a family, if you include the costs that come with living like an American, that $100,000 goes away really fast. And he's saying, well, there's probably a lot of Americans who are saying, why wouldn't you take that $100,000 per person?
It would take about 5 minutes to find out why. Yeah. It's because your operating expenses after 3 years, you're losing money.
Yeah.
That reasoning is not crazy. It's not something that's impossible to understand. Like, oh, why wouldn't you want to live the American dream, which people tell us we're living, but we don't actually get? Pretty straightforward. Why would that not be a tempting deal to a Greenlander? Here's the thing. If $100,000 is life-changing money to you, it would be to me. But if $100,000 was life-changing money to you, and you suddenly realize that this country we just tried to invade, its average citizens don't consider that life-changing money. What does that tell you about the strength of the country you're in? Are you really in the richest country in the world, or are we measuring this country's wealth by how much the top 0.01% make? 10 years ago, wait a minute, not 10 years, 15 years ago, I don't know. But let's just go larger and say 15 years ago. But in at least 2010, the 0.01% of Americans had about 5% of the country's wealth. 5%. That's still way too much for 100,000 Americans to have. But nonetheless, 5% of the country's wealth. These days, 12%. In that amount of time, our economics changed that much. In other words, the 0.01%, the people who you are never allowed to be in a room with, as you suffered that 2008 financial crisis that Obama presided over, as you suffered through COVID, as you suffered through all the nonsense that came our way, the oligarchs, the people who are allowed to bribe politicians, the people who are allowed to write the laws that we then have to follow, the people who don't check into a 9 to 5 like you or me, those people got more of your wealth, more of your country's wealth. And now, and you continued to suffer. And now, the U.S. tried to bribe the citizens of another country to let us take them over, tried to give them $100,000 each, which for most of you would be life-changing money. And they said no. Because the way they're living, even if you slap another $100,000 on top of that, the way they are living now is better than the way we're living. Because we've been lied to for a good long time. Tomorrow is the Wicked Cookout. I hope to see you there. I hope all of you try to call in sick, take a personal day, try to flex your muscles a little bit and see if you are able to. And if somebody tells you no, if somebody tells you you can't, if the laws in your country are such that you don't actually have free will, that you don't actually have control over your own life, I hope you will be very sober about whether or not you are free and what you're going to do to get there. And it's the same thing. General strike, 9 to 5 tomorrow. I'll see you then. Damn it. This has been WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. And this is Donald James X.